It's a challenging day to be a creative. Hi everyone, I'm Laurie Fagen and welcome to AZ Creates, a new web series about the many creative people right here in the Grand Canyon State. On today's show, you'll meet Nancy Breiman, a fantastic oil painter, in our Creative Connections segment. We'll have a reading by author Al Quihuis from one of his children's books in our What Are You Reading segment. In our Something to Look Forward To, we'll tell you about some upcoming events, including jazz ensembles forming at the Nash, a Sedona charity fundraiser, and many more. And this episode, we also highlight a great nonprofit called Cultural Coalition, Inc. AZ Creates is sponsored by Mary Contreras State Farm Insurance. A longtime supporter of the arts, Contreras offers insurance for autos, homeowners, renters, personal, business, life, and health, plus annuities and mutual funds. Located in Tempe, contact Mary Contreras through her website at marycontreras.com. AZ Creates would like to connect you with Nancy Breiman, a fantastic oil and acrylic painter who expresses her love of nature and animals on canvas. AZ Creates, Nancy Breiman, thanks for being with us today.
Thank you, Laurie. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So glad that we could have you today. Now, Nancy, you have a Bachelor of Science in Industrial Arts Education from the State University College at Buffalo, where you say you explored a wide variety of mediums, including drawing and painting, graphic design, woodworking, plastic. You had a very successful career in America after that, but out of all the mediums, what exactly drew you to painting?
Well, Laurie, my degree in industrial arts led me into being a teacher, and it was a teacher of shop, and that's not a very common thing for women. It certainly wasn't a common thing back in 1982 when I graduated. And then when I worked in corporate America, I really didn't have time to create. And so I had always painted, but I had never painted in oil. And because I started painting again when I was still working full time, I needed to find a medium that would let me be interrupted so that I could do a conference call and I could come back to it and it wouldn't be dry or I wouldn't have to start all over. And I decided to dabble in oil, and I'm so glad I did because I absolutely love it. It's by far my favorite medium.
Cool, that's great. So along the way, who were some of your inspirations? Or people you've studied with for painting?
So since I started painting, I was very fortunate to find a woman who has online classes because, again, I was still working. And she was at the time based in Dallas. Her name is Nancy Medina, and people may know her. She's a professional artist. She caught my attention because she paints in big, bold color. And that is exactly what I was looking for. I am a color person, as you can see. And I really wanted to find somebody that I could learn from that would work in the same palette that I had envisioned working in. And while I also like the traditional color palette, and I have studied with Daniel Keyes and many others, I get much more excited when I pull out my bright colors and work in the bright palette.
So you talk about that bright palette, and some of your pieces are just breathtaking. Talk about kind of the style that you use and the subject matter, because you have some very particular things that you like to paint, I believe.
Yeah, well, Nancy Medina is a floral painter, and that is one of the other reasons why I was drawn to her, because I love flowers. I mean, even when I wasn't painting for the many years I was working, I always had my camera or now my cell phone with me. And if there was a gorgeous flower, I would stop and get a real close up and get a macro it because I was just fascinated by it. And obviously I always liked Georgia O'Keeffe, but she's a little bit too macro for me. I like to be able to actually see the flower and be able to tell what it is. And so I really love florals, and I have a couple behind me that I've done recently. Living in the Southwest now in the desert, I have spent a lot of time studying and learning about the cactus flowers and the cactus blooms because I grew up on the East Coast and we just didn't have that. So I had to learn what they were. And then I still do get drawn to painting occasionally the traditional East Coast flower, geraniums, marigolds, sunflowers, morning glories, those kinds of things. And then I also do like to paint actual animals. I mean, I've done several commissions of dogs. I've done a dolphin. I've done tigers. And my style has kind of evolved. I started out when first painting trying to be very loose and impressionistic. And while I like to do that, I get more joy by being a little bit more realistic. I would not say I'm leaning towards photorealistic because I don't want to be that realistic. I think once you get to photorealism, you might as well just take a photo. So I like it to be somewhere in between impressionistic and realism.
Right. Well, we're going to talk more specifically about some of your gorgeous pieces, but first, let's take a little look around your studio. Tell us a little bit about where you create, about your paints and about your brushes.
I've tried a lot of different brushes, and I have 3 very particular brushes that I love most of all. And you can see the layout of my special brush holder that a friend made for me. It was specially designed and the colors picked just for me. But I love Rosemary and Company brushes. I think they have a multitude of different types of brushes. I typically use the synthetic. Their brushes are fantastic. They are a little more expensive than others. And then I actually have 2 other very inexpensive brushes that I like. One is a Langnickel brush, and the other is a Royal Talon, and they both work fantastic for different purposes. You can see my rolling cart where I put my palette out on top and I store my paint underneath. And I've tried a number of different kinds of paints. I keep going back to Rembrandt oil paints. I have a couple of Winsor & Newton, and I have a couple of Gamblin. And then, of course, my absolute favorite paint, but they don't make it in every single color that I use, is Vasari, and it's just luscious. So those are my favorites.
And you have a new piece that you're starting to work on as well.
I do. I have a new commission piece that I'm working on. It is a 36 by 48. It is going to be a desert scene. And my client has given me several pictures that they've taken while they do their hikes. And so I'm incorporating the actual mountainscape from the area that they hike in, and then bringing in the cactus flowers and some of the saguaros and some of the other flowers that they see on their hikes, kind of all in one composition. So I'm excited about doing it. It's the biggest one I've ever done.
Is it? It is large, but it's good. It's starting off beautiful. You have one that just the colors in this are so luscious too. Anxiously Awaiting Spring is the title of this piece. Tell us a little bit about it.
This was my first piece that I did about 8 months ago, where I really left the impressionistic phase of my painting and started to go more realistic. And you can really tell from the colors that I just wanted to capture the brightness of the colors of the blooms, and also the fact that the prickly pear and the Santa Rita cactus, they come in the green tones, and then they come in the purples with the turquoise tones. And so it's an opportunity for me to use all my favorite colors in one painting. And this picture that you're looking at is actually a giclée, because the original painting sold in about 3 hours. I finished it, I put it up on Facebook, and it was gone. So obviously other people liked it too.
Obviously, that's great. Now this next one, obviously you spend a lot of time around cactus. This is called Tower of Jewels.
Tower of Jewels was a commission I did for someone who lives here locally, and she's originally from California. Tower of Jewels is the actual name of the flower. It's a very, very large flowering, almost like a tree. It can grow 6 feet tall. And the flowers are smaller, and they grow in clusters, and they grow in a spiral around the top of the flower. And so what I did was I honed in on a specific area of the actual flowering tree and added my little friend, the bumblebee, to it.
Absolutely. He looks great. And he's also right behind you as well. Then you have another large giclée, which is a very good photocopy, if you will, of the original piece. And this was called New Hope. Talk a little about New Hope.
And New Hope, I started at the very beginning of the pandemic, and it's a smaller painting, the original was, but it just made me feel like I needed to focus in on something that made me happy and bright and a little bit different composition. The flower itself is more the centerpiece down at the bottom of the composition, and you see a little bit more of the actual cactus itself. So I needed to find some joy, some real, happiness while we were just starting to go into lockdown.
Nancy, you are a juried member of the Oil Painters of America and a member of the Arizona Artists Guild, the Southern Arizona Arts and Cultural Alliance, the Arizona Arts Alliance, and you're a member of the Sonoran Arts League. Tell us a little bit about your involvement with the league. When did you join? How long have you been a member? And what types of things have you been involved with them?
I joined the league just about a year ago, right at the same time that I was retiring from corporate America. I said, now's a great time to jump right in and get involved. And the Sonoran Art League is known, as I'm sure most people know, for their signature event called Hidden in the Hills. And I am very close to that. And I wanted very badly to be able to participate in Hidden in the Hills in the future. So I started to get engaged and involved in the Arts League. And I ended up displaying in the El Pedregal Gallery and in some of their pop-up shows in Stagecoach Village in Cave Creek. And the more I got to know the people, the more I just fell in love with the whole organization and started to spend more time there and see how I could bring some of my skills from my business background to the Art League to help them grow and foster.
And you're also teaching workshops through the league now, and you're teaching veterans. What drew you to that specific audience, if you will, that specific group?
I have a teaching degree, and with my teaching degree, I feel pretty comfortable in front of an audience. And the veterans are wonderful. They need more attention because they're just looking for a creative outlet and a social opportunity. So I've not taught them oil painting. I've taught them mixed media. I've taught them painting on glass. I have taught them how to work with paper collage, and they just love it. They're so fun, and they're just such a nice group of people, and they don't often get the extra attention for these kinds of things. We spend a lot of time supporting the youth. The Art League also has a youth group. But I was much more drawn to the veterans, and my father was also a veteran. And it's something that we need to give back to to the veteran community.
What's a recent project that you've worked on with the veterans group?
I just recently did a painted glass project with them, but I don't have anything to share with you. But the project I did before that was a mixed media paper collage, and this is what we did. Mine is titled Nourish. I taught them how to take their own images from, anywhere. I mean, these images I just printed off images that I own, and taught them how to use the layers and to create the texture and the depth using just layers and layers of paper and different kinds of paper. So this was a really fun project, and their projects came out fantastic. They were very quick learners.
That's great. So Nancy, you have also done a great job in helping to connect artists with art patrons during this crazy pandemic because of this new venture of yours, the Creative Connection Fine Art Auction. Tell us why you decided to put this together.
I participated in a number of groups with the local artists, and the pandemic started, and so we all started getting together on Zoom, and a lot of people were asking, a lot of the artists were asking questions, now that the galleries are closed, how am I going to sell my work? And a lot of them don't have websites, and they hadn't been used to having to use what I would call a digital channel. And it occurred to me that having worked for 35 years for IBM, that my digital background might be useful. And I don't need the money. So I said, why don't I just do an auction and see if I can't help these people sell their work and then we can raise money at the same time. So we did an auction back in May, and the Art League was the benefactor as well as the artists. So they each got their own portion. And we're running one right now, as you know, where World Central Kitchen is our benefactor, again, the artists. And we have 65 artists and over 180 pieces of art.
You really did have a good response this time too. And I'm happy to say I have 2 jewelry pieces and a fiber piece that will also be in the fall creative connection, which is running as we speak, and we'll run.
It is
7th. Yes, we'll talk more about that in a second. But Nancy, you had an artist who donated a piece who doesn't want a dime, and he wants all the money to go to the World Central Kitchen. Tell us about this artist and about the piece.
Well, I have to honestly say, I don't know much about the artist. He and I exchanged a couple of emails. He found the opportunity somewhere out there in social media. He is a mixed media artist. His name is Robert Essler, and he asked me if he could donate a piece where all the proceeds would go to World Central Kitchen. And of course, I said, absolutely. And his piece is very unusual. It's if you go to the actual auction site and read the description of how he actually created it is there. It's many steps of process using watercolor, using some digital technology, and then it's all completed again with another layer of watercolor. And it's quite a large piece. It's a beautiful piece, and it's called a tribute to the Navajo Nation. It spoke to him on how the Navajo Nation morphs and changes, and so too has this virus. And so the combination of the two are combined in this piece of art.
It is a striking piece, no question about it. So tell us again how long the current fall 2020 Creative Connection Fall Online Auction is going, and what's the website that people can go to register and purchase art?
So the auction is running until the 27th at 8 p.m. Pacific time. And the easiest way to register for the auction is to go to my website, creativeconnectionsfineart.com, and it will be front and center on the front page to click a button and take you right to the auction.
Sounds good. Sounds good. So, Nancy, how are you doing during this pandemic?
I am doing fantastic. I am super busy painting, helping other people. I'm still doing my workshops with the veterans because the Art League's done a great job of setting up a physical workshop space where we can socially distance. We're all wearing our masks, and people are coming because we're in desperate need of some kind of socialization now. And I'm doing great. And how about you? How are you doing?
I'm so glad that you are doing, and I'm doing well too. You know, this has been a great part of this show, is that we're finding people like you who are doing some different things that we probably might not have been doing during this time, but we're getting creative, we're getting energized, we're getting inspired to do these types of things for other people, bring people together. And so I applaud you for doing these auctions well. It really is helpful.
Thank
you. Okay, let's do a little lightning round, shall we?
Sure.
So just a few word answers. What is your best time to create?
Early morning.
Like how early?
Well, when I was working, it would be 5 a.m., but now it's a little closer to 8.
Okay, very good. Any particular person who inspires you?
Oh, you know, I guess I'm very inspired by the woman I took the instruction from, Nancy Medina, because she is just a power horse.
Great, great. And what is your favorite part of painting? Obviously, the colors draw you, the subject matter. Any particular thing that just really makes you happiest when you're painting?
I like the middle of the process. So the beginning of the process kind of feels mechanical because you do have to have composition. And the end, you know, is a little bit more tedious because you're fine tuning and getting into the details. But the middle is when you can just kind of get in the zone and go with the flow and let your paintbrush speak what's going through your body. It's kind of like an extension of the energy of your body.
Nice, nice. That's great. So, what advice would you have for either emerging or established artists?
I think the best advice I can give somebody, regardless of where they are in their art journey, is to follow their joy. I mean, you have to do what you love. You have to like it. I create art knowing that it may never leave my home, and therefore it could end up on all my walls. And that's completely fine with me because I love it, because I love the process and I love the end result. And when I find, like I've spoken to a couple of youth artists who are also in our auction, and they were worried, what do I make that's going to sell? I said, you don't think that way. You start with, what do I want to paint because I love to paint that subject, and that's going to give me joy. So the focus on the joy of the process.
That is great. I think that's got to be very helpful, especially for new artists who are trying to think about how are they going to make money and whatever. But you do have to enjoy what you're doing first, for sure.
Absolutely.
Nancy, thank you so much. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you so much, Laurie.
Absolutely. And we will have information about Nancy Breiman, how to contact her, and about the Creative Connection Fine Art Auction going now through September 27th. They'll be in the show notes right below here. Thanks again. Straight ahead, what are you reading with Al Quihuis? Stick around. AZ Creates is sponsored by the Times Media Group, a digital and print media company that operates in the Phoenix and Tucson metro markets. It serves a wide variety of demographic audiences and communities with more than 1.1 million printed copies and millions of online readers each month. Publications include the Santan Sun News, Chandler Arizonan, Gilbert Sun News, Mesa Tribune, Scottsdale Progress, and many more. For details, visit Times Publications at timespublications.com. We'd like you to meet an award-winning children's book author who has also written a young adult book as well. AZ Creates welcomes Al Quihuis. Welcome to the show, Al.
Thank you for inviting me to be a part of this program.
Absolutely. Glad to have you with us. So, Al, you have a very popular children's book series about Sophia and Pepe the parrot, who we will see in just a few minutes. But you also have a new young adult book about the true story of some very strong women in your own family. So, first tell us, how did you get into writing and why did you decide to go into the children's book route?
Growing up, I thought I would be the last person to be a writer. Every year after Thanksgiving, we would have a tamale day, which on Sunday we would make tamales. And it was one day that my brother was like really interested in making the tamale, the texture, and making it the best that he could. And at that time, I thought like, you know what, this is not my mother telling us to come over here and make tamales. This is really our family tradition. After doing this for many, many years, I realized this was a family tradition. And at that moment, I looked at my mother and I said, Mom, I'm going to write a book about this event, about our making tamales. And that's how it all started.
You have had some good success. You got famed writer Stella Pope Duarte, as well as former Governor Raul Castro, to do forewords for you for a couple of your books. You've won a number of awards, including the Arizona Literacy Award a couple of times, and several international Latino book awards. What is your favorite part of book writing?
It's taken many years, but it's just the development of being an author and being a writer, and the association that I have with my friends and other fellow writers, I think has really have been really important to me. Another thing that it's really been important to me is that I've been really been able to go deep inside my heart and my soul to really discover who I am, and to be able to write about my life experiences, and to also use my own creativity to share this with everybody.
You mentioned earlier you do a lot of readings in schools. How is that for you?
Yeah, there's not a lot of Latino authors in this area, and there's a few in Tucson, but when you invited, a lot of these students, they're not seeing a Latino author. And so to see someone to come into the classroom to be able to read and tell them about their experiences is really exciting for them. And so the first thing I try to do is kind of relay my own personal experiences of how I became a writer. And so they can relate, because I had my challenges in grade school at that time. And so I want them to know too that, you work through all of these different things. And then my books, I realized that, I have a strong message that I want to share with the students, and I want them to know that, and it's in the book. And then through Sophia, which is, Sophia's named after my mother. She's the one that we learn from her life experiences. And then Pepe the Parrot is the one that really engages the kids, and the kids just really enjoy playing with them. I created a puppet. Here he is as he flies.
Oh, he's adorable.
Yeah, so it's kind of cool that I take turns as I read the story. I have someone that acts as Pepe. It's a puppet. It's a puppet that that they can use. So anytime I say something that Pepe says, they repeat after me, and the kids really think that's the funniest thing to see everybody involved in the story, and they want to take turns playing Pepe. So it's really been fun. I really enjoy it.
What are some of the other book titles you have in the Sophia series?
The first one was Sophia's Awesome Tamale Day. And I was very excited, the fact that I won an award for the first time trying to write a book. So that was a learning experience. Many people suggested that book should be in Spanish. And so I had several people help me to translate that. One of them was Veronica. Then the next one was The Search for the Lost Art of Making Tortillas. That is, as you can see, the pictures and the illustrations is Susan Klecka, and they're very authentic throughout this book and all the other books. The next one is Isabella's Treasure, which has a little of Arizona's history in it. So I'm really excited in presenting this book to when I do readings. And then the most recent one is Sophia's Summer Adventure, which I really enjoy reading to the classroom.
So we would love it if you would read from Sophia's Summer Adventure.
Sophia, for the summer, is visiting her great aunt, and nearby are her cousins and another aunt who has a farm, Amaya's farm, and also there's a house nearby that it's a great uncle, and all the kids call it the ghost house. So the kids are having a great time, but in helping her aunt, Maya and Maya's farm, Sophia and Pepe decide to make a scarecrow. Pepe decides to visit Pancho, and Pancho is the name of the scarecrow. So he flew and landed on the top of the scarecrow's wide shoulders. The sun was bright, and Pepe started to doze off. Ay, Pancho, says Pepe, you stay in the same place every day, never moving. Have you thought about traveling and visiting new places and meeting new people? Oh, yes, Pepe. I have many times thought it would be nice to climb to the top of the hill and look on the other side. Ay, Pancho, think about it. You could experience new things and find your purpose in life, says Pepe. Ah, Pepe, says Pancho, I know my purpose. Every day I keep the birds and rabbits away from the fields so the corn can grow tall and ripen. Then we'll have plenty of corn for making tamales, corn tortillas, and corn on the cob. Que bueno, Pancho. Que bueno, said Pepe. Sophia yelled out, Pepe, leave Pancho alone. Pepe flapped his wings and said goodbye to Pancho and returned to Sophia. Pancho can talk, says Pepe. Pepe, scarecrows can't talk, said Tia Maya. Pancho can talk, says Pepe firmly. No, Pepe, says Sophia, shaking her hands. But, stammered Pepe. Then Pepe started to wonder, was Pancho talking or was Pepe daydreaming? So when I finished that sentence, I turned into the kids and I said, what was it? Was Pancho talking or was Pepe daydreaming? And you get variety of answers, and they all have their reasons for why they think he was talking or not talking. The purpose of this little part here is that one, for all the students, I want them to think about, visiting new places and having new experience and meeting new people and knowing what that is like. And also about learning your purpose in life and why that's important. And as you grow up, that could change your life and make you a much, much better person.
That's wonderful. Very nice. So, how have you been doing during this pandemic?
I feel like it's Groundhog Day. And so every day I'm trying to make it a better day. This is a life-changing experience, what we're experiencing right now. And so it's not going to never be the same. So we need to make adjustments and we need to really embrace technology. And so Laurie, I was really thankful that you asked me to do this because I've been trying to learn about different types of ways to go about promoting my books. And also, I've talked to a few of the teachers and say, how are we going to be able to work with the students? Is this going to be, do we have to wait till someone comes in, or is it we're going to wait, or do we need to do a visual? Do we do a Zoom or other type of webinars, for the students? Because we really need to stay in contact with them.
And again, that connection with the kids is so important, especially now. And if it can only be through a video chat, oh well, let's embrace that and figure it out, right?
Right, exactly.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit more about your next project that you are working on. You have another book that you've written.
This is my next book. It's called Better Than Me. 3 generations of eternal strength, inner strength. It's about 3 women. It has to do with Veronica and her mother, Maria, and her mother, Manuela. And so this is really, it took me about 4 or 5 years to write this. It was very challenging. And I knew all the parts of the stories, but trying to put it together where it has a meaning and purpose and can be inspirational for young adults was the challenging part. And so I feel like I really accomplished that. I'm working with someone, Karina Ontiveros. She's in the Tucson Unified School District. And we want to create a study guide. And so that's what we're working on. And this study guide will be able to, that teachers would be able to use and present this to the students to understand the different challenges that people have. In this book, I really tried to bring out stories and points of interest that all the students could relate to and say, like, well, I had that same situation, or that happened to me, or I know somebody that happened to them. And this way, they would be able to embrace this book and really be inspired and motivated. And that's what we really want to happen.
Absolutely. That's great. And congratulations on those awards for that book that is very new as well. So for more information about Al and his books, you can visit albertmonrealquihuis.com, and his information will be in the show notes down below. Also, Sibley's West in downtown Chandler, a sponsor of AZ Creates, also carries Al's books. Thanks again, Al, and keep those creative juices flowing. Appreciate you being with us today. Upcoming events in Something to Look Forward to is coming up next. We'll be right back. AZ Creates is sponsored by Sibley's West, the Chandler and Arizona gift shop in historic downtown Chandler. A strong supporter of Arizona creatives, Sibley's West features work from more than 200 artists specializing in Arizona items and souvenirs, including art, pottery, food, jewelry, and much more. Now open at 72 South San Marcos Place in Chandler, online shopping is also available with convenient and safe curbside pickup. Visit www.sibleyswest.com for details. AZ Creates highlights the nonprofit Cultural Coalition, Inc., which promotes and develops indigenous arts and artists in Arizona through community engagement and unique cultural programs. The coalition believes that supporting the local Native and Latino artists is an imperative goal, and through arts events and multidisciplinary performances, they tell collective universal stories and keep traditional icons alive and relevant to our contemporary culture. For information, visit culturalcoalition.com. We have a variety of art events to tell you about in Something to Look Forward to, including a couple of virtual art auctions and an in-person fall festival. Here's Cathy Beard with details.
Thanks, Lori. We have some wonderful events happening in September and for the remainder of 2020 from all over Arizona. Interested in having your event considered? We'll tell you how at the end of the segment. The 45th Annual Fall Artisans Festival in Pinetop Lakeside will take place in person and with safety precautions Friday, September 25th through Sunday, September 27th. To observe social distancing guidelines provided by the Governor's Office, participating vendors will be distributed throughout the town of Pinetop Lakeside. There will be ample space between all of the vendors. Masks will be worn by and requested by all vendors, and free masks will be provided at every stop. The Free Fall Artisan Festival features handmade crafted items by artisans from all over the country. Each artist displays and sells their own unique designs, from jewelry to paintings to woodwork. The distributed festival will promote safe shopping while still providing the area's local businesses and vendors an opportunity to sell their wares. There will be live entertainment at Charlie Clark's on Friday from 5 p.m. until close, Saturday from noon to 4:30, and Sunday noon to 2. To attend the Fall Artisans Festival, stop by the Orchard at Charlie Clark's, the Town Hall, or the Chamber to pick up an illustrated collectible map showing the location of local businesses and Fall Artisan Festival vendors. Tickets to win a tiny home will be for sale, and the drawing will be held on September 27th. Find out about festival hours and more at pinetoplakesidechamber.com. Support local artists, bring some beauty into your world, and help a worthy nonprofit. Take part in the Creative Connections Fine Art Fall 2020 online auction, which runs now through September 27th and benefits the nonprofit World Central Kitchen in feeding those in need due to COVID-19. Registration is still open to bid on nearly 180 pieces of art from about 80 artists. Visit creativeconnectionsfineart.com. Like many other popular fall art studio tours, the in-person Prescott Studio Tour, slated for October, has been canceled. But to give art lovers a chance to purchase works from more than 50 award-winning juried artists, the Prescott organizers are holding their inaugural online art auction, October 2nd through 16. Art patrons will find a wide variety of mediums including painting, ceramics, jewelry, sculpture, fiber, and wearable art. From artists including Lynn Schmidt, Joan Knight, Nicole McCaig, Adrian Buffington, and AZ Creates' own Laurie Fagen. Artists and patrons will also be able to connect virtually on the tour website and in person with artists who will have their studios open to visitors by appointment. Proceeds will support the artists, as well as children's art programs in the Quad Cities of Prescott Valley, Chino Valley, and Dewey-Humboldt, as well as next year's in-person studio tour to be held October 1st, 2nd, and 3rd, 2021. For details, visit PrescottStudioTour.com. Art Intersection in Gilbert is back open Wednesday through Saturday from 10 to 6, and the Photography and Fine Art Gallery is following protocols for social distancing and the use of face masks. There are 2 calls for future art shows, and the current All Art Arizona exhibit runs through October 3rd. It can also be viewed in a virtual tour by visiting the website at artintersection.com. The Fashion and Business Resource Innovation Center in Tempe, also known as Fabric, partnered with the nonprofit AZ Apparel Foundation early on in the pandemic to manufacture FDA-approved reusable isolation gowns for Arizona medical professionals. Fabric Sewers just hit the 200,000 gown milestone since converting its fashion show catwalk to a personal protection equipment or PPEM factory. Fabric is normally a fashion incubator where emerging designers can grow their abilities and their businesses to take their ideas from concept to sewn to sold. The facility in downtown Tempe features co-working and event spaces, workshops, and classes, as well as mentorship, micro-manufacturing, and marketing opportunities. Learn more about Fabric at fabrictempe.com. The annual Loving Bowls charity fundraiser by the Sedona Arts Center is already open and runs through December 24th at 5 p.m. More than 1,500 bowls have been made and glazed by professional volunteer potters and may be purchased at the center's Fine Art Gallery. Regular Loving Bowls are $10 and special salad bowls are $50. Proceeds from this ongoing event will go to the Sedona Food Bank, Sedona Community Center, Humane Society of Sedona, Verde Valley Sanctuary, and educational programs at Sedona Arts Center. Founded in 1958, the nonprofit organization promotes the original works of more than 100 local artists and regularly offers special assistance for collectors and art buyers, offers private studio visits, and fosters hundreds of arts education opportunities each year. For more information, visit SedonaArtsCenter.org. The Nash Ensemble jazz programs for boys, girls, and adults are enrolling now for their virtual programs. They include a Futures Workshop, which is an entry-level instrumental jazz program for boys and girls ages 10 to 17. There's also a Phoenix Jazz Girls Rising for girls only, ages 10 to 17, where they will learn jazz skills and build self-esteem in a supportive environment. And for those ages 16 to adults, consider auditioning for the Nash Vocal Ensemble, a creative outlet for all voice types. The Nash, named for internationally renowned drummer John Lewis, offers performance and educational programs including One More Time, pre-recorded jazz concerts you can enjoy from home during the pandemic. The Nash is also the home of Jazz in Arizona, a nonprofit founded in 1977 to encourage and support the original American art form of jazz. For details, go to thenash.org. If you have a creative event, such as a concert, a gallery show, art festival, theatrical performance, or educational opportunity, email us your information at azcreates.artonlineaz@gmail.com. And that's something to look forward to.
Thanks so much, Cathy. So we close AZ Creates today with a creative thought of the week, as we also thank you for joining us today. Life is like a camera. Just focus on what's important and capture the good times. Develop from the negatives. And if things don't work out, just take another shot. Thanks for watching AZ Creates. We'd love it if you'd give us a thumbs up or any comments you'd like below. And please subscribe to this channel. So whether you're an artist or an arts lover, whether you're working at home or homeschooling a child, please stay safe and healthy and make it a creative day. See you next time.